Welcome back to another episode of My Humble Kitchen. My name is Leonard, and today we'll be making flank steak with a tomatillo salsa verde, rice and beans, black beans and Spanish rice, and I'll explain why it's different than regular white rice. And we're also going to be making a salad, greens, tomatoes, and onions with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and that's it. So first we're going to start with seasoning the steak. So first you get a nice piece of flank steak. This is grass-fed flank steak. It's actually one of the better cuts. And for the seasoning, what we're going to use is our base seasoning, which is salt and pepper. This is cumin. We're going to use smoked paprika and coriander seeds. The first thing we're going to do with the coriander seed is toast them. So we just put it in a medium flame. Get a nice non-stick pan. And you're going to put in a good number of coriander seeds. And you let that toast for about 2 minutes. It'll start making the aroma in your house and it'll smell really good. It's a very good spice to work with. I'm going to get my spice grinder ready because while that's toasting, we'll hook that up and we're going to grind the spice. If you don't have a spice grinder, a regular mortar and pestle is more than enough. But since I have the spice grinder, I'll take the easy route today. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a bowl and you're going to put the rest of the spices together. This is about a tablespoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of pepper, smoked paprika. It's about a tablespoon and a half. I'm gonna let that sit together and we'll get the coriander ready. So about 2 minutes have passed and we start smelling it in the house. So you'll turn off the heat and you put it right in the spice grinder. And then you put in the spice grinder. Spice grinder is a coffee grinder. It's basically what it is. You can get it at any grocery store. And the reason why we toast the seeds first, it brings out the flavor in the actual spice. It's really easy. You don't want it to be nice and fine because you want that little bit of crusted seasoning for the steak and it'll create a better flavor. That's perfect. We're going to put that all together and then you want to mix it up. All the spices are integrated together. Next thing you want to do is take olive oil and coat your flank steak. Just a couple of drizzles. You don't want to overcoat it. Rub that in. The first thing you want to do is do your base seasoning coat, a little bit of salt and pepper. On both sides. You don't have to do too much because there's already salt and pepper in the actual seasoning. And that's your base seasoning. Then after that, you have to get ready to get messy because you do this all by hand and that's the best part of cooking. You put it all over the steak. Just until every part of it is covered in that seasoning. That's perfect. Next thing you do, I'm going to put it in either a pan or a glass pan, doesn't matter what, and you leave it in the fridge. Okay, so while the steak is marinating in the fridge, remember it's going to take about 3 or 4 hours, we're going to start on the tomatillo salsa verde. The tomatillo is basically like a green tomato, but it's not. It actually comes in a husk, and you have to remove the husk. That's inedible. Okay, quarter these. Put it in a pan. Next, we're going to need 1 whole onion. We don't have to go crazy with the cutting of this onion. We're going to quarter it. And we put that right next to everything. Now, if you want heat, serrano chilies. What we're going to do is we're going to cut off the ends. Just slice them and put them there. A little tidbit, if you want a little bit of spice, you can use the serrano chili because it is spicier than the jalapeno, and take out the seeds. Taking out the seeds in any chili pepper actually makes it milder. We're going to leave the seeds in today. I'm going to put that together. That's all going to go in a glass pan. I have my oven preheated at 400 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to cook these first. We're going to roast them for about 25 minutes. So you put olive oil, a nice coating. You can be liberal with the olive oil. Salt and pepper for seasoning. We're going to peel the garlic. Easiest way to peel garlic is just smash it. Then all the peels come out. After everything is together in the pan, it doesn't have to be mixed together because we're just using it to char and roast the vegetables. We're going to put it in a preheated oven, 400 degrees. For about 25 minutes. So we're just going to leave it there. So while the salsa verde, or the vegetables for the salsa verde, is roasting, we're going to start on our rice. So I typically like to put it on a medium heat, medium flame first. And this is a caldero, which is a Spanish pot. We use it for rice and other stews and Spanish soups and everything. But this actually creates a non-stick version here, and it doesn't burn the rice when you're using it. If you use a regular pot, it burns the rice and you have that smoky flavor, which isn't bad, but that's not what we're looking for right now. So we're going to coat the bottom with oil. You can use olive oil, canola oil. I cook with a lot of olive oil. So you just want a nice coat on the bottom. I'm going to use the adobo, and you want to hear that starting. I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons of adobo. And then we have 4 cups of white rice. So we let that simmer for a little bit. And then we put the rice in. And then right after we put the rice in, we grab our measuring cup. With 4 cups of rice, we put 4 cups of water. And that's 4. You would definitely want to stir it. Get that seasoning all over the rice. And then salt and pepper to taste. Cover and wait for it to boil and the water to reduce. Okay, so next, while the rice is cooking, and that's going to take about 25 minutes also, what we're going to do is we're going to start on the beans. Now, I chose black beans. Black beans are my favorite bean. So this is 2 cans. We have minced garlic here. It's about 3 or 4 cloves. And then here is basically what we call our stock. This is the things that we're going to use to boil the beans in to create a lot of flavor. So we start with a half a white onion. We have what's called a cubanella pepper. We also have what's called culantro. They use this in a lot of fresh recadito. It's a Spanish herb, and they use this in a lot of green sauces as well. and cilantro. Cilantro creates a nice fresh herbness, and it's actually very refreshing to your palate, and it's a nice flavor. So that's what we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to heat up our pan. Now I'm using 2 cans, so I have a bigger pan. Put it on medium flame, and we coat the bottom with olive oil. Remember, you can use any type of oil you'd like. Olive oil is my oil of choice because it's healthier. Make sure that there's a nice coat on the bottom. Let that heat up. So with medium-low heat, we make sure that the pan is coated. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the onion, the cubanella pepper, and the garlic. I like to start off with the garlic. You just put it right in there. You don't want the garlic to burn, you don't want it to brown, you just want it to sweat. Then we put the onion. It doesn't have to be apart. And then the cubanella pepper. And while that's heating up, you're going to want to cover it, and that creates it to sweat. Next, let's check on our rice. So that's how you want the rice to look. And the next step, and this is my little secret when it comes to making rice. Other people do it differently, but I do it this way. I put all the rice to the middle. It's still nice and moist, and it's not done yet. I take aluminum foil and I put it on the top. And then I cover it. What this does is creates moisture to get locked into the pan. And that'll slowly cook the rice to where it needs to be. Make sure that it goes to medium-low heat, so right in between medium and low. And then you can forget about it. So now our stock is sweating. So the next, and that's good, you want a nice little simmer. So the next thing you want to do, stir that, make sure it smells so good too. I love the smell of sauteing garlic. Next thing you're going to do, you're going to put your beans in. Then you're going to put water. About 3 cups of water, because you want to make sure that the water reduces down and the beans absorb all that flavor that's in the pot right now. So after you put the water, what you're going to want to do is you take the adobo, you sprinkle. Be nice and liberal with it, because this is actually what creates flavor in the broth. And 2 seasonings that I get at any store, and any store actually carries these. It's called sofrito and recaito. I'm going to grab a tablespoon of each. Just let that simmer in there. And then the next one, it is hard to find. You can make it yourself if you look up the recipe online. But this is called Sazon Ranchero. And this one I like to put about 2 tablespoons. Stir that all in. And it doesn't look like much now, but when it starts boiling, you'll see the difference. Cover it. Bring it to a medium-high heat. And you can forget about it. It's been about 25 minutes, and we took out our roasted vegetables for our tomatillo salsa verde. So what you want to do is, see, that's the perfect coloring. You see nice little char. You put it all in a blender. pan overboard. Put it all in a blender. And then next you want about a 1/4 cup of cilantro. You can put the cilantro in whole. The reason why you say you can put the cilantro in whole is because it's going to get blended anyway. You cover it, and then you can start blending it. You want to make sure that your blender is set on high and open the top. You want to add a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. Go back in, and now what you want to do is you want to just pulse it. And that is your salsa verde. Now we're going to do our steak. So our steak has been marinating for about 4.5 to 5 hours, and that's how it should look. It's infused with all the herbs and spices that we put in before. But before that, what I'm going to do is, our beans are boiling, so we'll get a nice stir. And it's still a little watery, and that's okay because the liquid still has to reduce. It takes some time to reduce. And we're going to add the culantro and the cilantro. What this does is creates flavor and taste for the beans to be a nice freshness, to have a nice freshness. Stir that in. Cover it. Bring that to a medium-low heat and let that simmer. Check up on our rice. Our rice is looking good. Just give it a quick little stir. And I have this on a very, very low flame so that it doesn't burn, but it still stays nice and warm throughout the whole cooking process. Cover that back up. So next thing we do, if you have a flat griddle, which is great for steak, if you don't, you can also use a very big saute pan and you can pan sear it. But I'm going to use a griddle that I have here. We're going to coat it nicely with olive oil for the steak. Then you're going to take the flank steak, you're going to put it on and let that stay. And you're going to want to cook it 4 minutes on each side. And that's what you want to hear. You want to hear the nice sear. While that's sauteing, we'll check up on our beans. Looks good and it smells good. We'll cover that back up. And our rice. The rice is almost done. It's practically done. We just have to wait for the rest of the components to finish. So while all that is working, what we're going to do is we're going to start on our salad. Now, I like different types of salads with different types of mixes, a spring mix with herbs and everything. It just creates a better flavor. So I get it all pre-packaged. You can also cut it if you'd like, but also this helps us portion control without wasting any. I'm going to put that all together, and this has a little bit of dill, a little bit of cilantro, a little bit of parsley, which actually goes really great in the salad. Next, what we're going to do is 1 beef steak tomato. And cut the ends. You want nice sized tomatoes. And that's good. And we'll put it all over the salad. If you have extra, that's great, then you can just save it for a later date. And you want to slice white onion. You don't want too many slices, you want about a quarter of the onion. Separate that. Put that all together. Next, use olive oil and we'll dress the salad. So light coat of olive oil, salt and pepper to taste, and that's good. We'll put that aside and that's ready for dinner. So the flank steak has been searing on one side for about 4 minutes. That's when you want to flip it over. And you see you have the nice char and the nice crusting of all the spices that we put on. And I wish you could smell it in here because it smells really, really good. So we'll let that simmer for 4 minutes. The beans are looking better. The stock is getting lower, so it's reducing a little bit. And that's sort of the color that you want. That smells so good.